Have you ever asked yourself why the same kind of person keeps entering your life, no matter how many times you swear you will never fall into the same trap again? You promise yourself that the next relationship will be different, but then you discover the same pain in a different face. The names change, the stories change, but the patterns repeat like a song stuck on eternal replay. Carl Jung believed this was not an accident, not bad luck, not fate punishing you. He believed it was the work of the unconscious, the hidden layers of your soul attracting what your conscious mind cannot yet see. Jung once wrote that, until you make the unconscious conscious, it will direct your life and you will call it fate. This is never more visible than in the people we choose to love, to trust, or to follow. Every person you are drawn to is not random. They are mirrors. They carry pieces of you, both light and dark, both what you admire and what you refuse to acknowledge. And until you recognize this, you will keep attracting the wrong people, because wrong does not mean meaningless. It means unfinished. Think back to your earliest relationships, the bonds with your parents or caregivers. As children, we learn what love feels like, what safety feels like, what rejection feels like. And even if those early patterns hurt us, they carve deep grooves into the psyche. The unconscious does not care about happiness. It cares about familiarity. If love was mixed with neglect, if affection was tangled with criticism, if closeness was bound with fear, then your unconscious learns. This is love. And so, as an adult, you find yourself strangely drawn to people who repeat those patterns. You call them wrong, but your unconscious calls them home. Imagine a child who only received affection when they achieved something: good grades, obedience, perfection. That child grows into an adult who attracts partners who give love conditionally, who withhold warmth until demands are met. Or think of a child who had to care for an unstable parent. They grow into someone who attracts partners they need to fix, because deep down, love and caretaking became inseparable. The unconscious repeats, not because it hates you, but because it wants to resolve the wound. It keeps bringing the same kind of person into your life until you finally wake up and see the pattern for what it is. This is what Jung called projection. We project our inner wounds, our hidden desires, our unresolved conflicts onto the people around us. We think we are meeting someone new, but in truth, we are meeting ourselves in disguise. That is why love can feel so intoxicating. It is not only the other person you are falling for, it is the lost part of yourself they carry. You see in their eyes what you cannot see in the mirror. You feel in their presence what you refuse to admit alone. And so you call it destiny. But often it is not destiny. It is your shadow calling you again. The shadow plays a powerful role in attraction. Everything you deny in yourself, you seek in others. If you repress your wildness, you may be magnetized by those who live recklessly. If you repress your ambition, you may admire those who chase success without shame. If you repress your anger, you may end up with partners who explode with rage, carrying for you what you cannot carry for yourself. And then, after the initial fascination fades, the very trait that drew you becomes the one that destroys you. The wild spirit becomes irresponsible. The ambitious one becomes selfish. The passionate one becomes unstable. And you say, "Why do I always attract the wrong people?" But these wrong people are not coincidences. They are lessons. They are reflections. They are the psyche's way of showing you what you still need to integrate. You are not cursed, you are called. Every attraction is an invitation to wholeness. But most of us refuse the invitation. We blame the other. We demonize them. We run from them without ever asking, what part of me brought them into my life? What wound was I trying to heal through them? What piece of my shadow do they embody? Jung often observed that we are drawn to people who carry our anima or animus, the inner feminine in men, the inner masculine in women. This is not about gender roles but about the inner balance of energies. A man who denies his softness, his intuition, his vulnerability may be captivated by women who embody these qualities. A woman who denies her assertiveness, her rational strength, her courage may be drawn to men who radiate them. Attraction is the psyche's attempt at balance. But if we do not integrate these inner figures consciously, we project them outward, placing impossible weight on the people we love. We expect them to complete us, to heal us, to carry what we refuse to own. And sooner or later, they fail, because no one can carry your soul for you. This is why relationships often feel like wars. You are not only fighting with the other, you are fighting with yourself. You demand from them what you cannot give to yourself. You reject in them what you cannot accept in yourself. You punish them for carrying your shadow, while denying that it was you who handed it to them in the first place. Every heartbreak, then, is not only the loss of another, it is the refusal to meet yourself. But awareness changes everything. When you begin to see that the people you attract are mirrors, the spell breaks. You stop asking, "Why do I always attract the wrong people?" and you start asking, "What are these people showing me about myself?" This shift transforms pain into wisdom. The destructive cycle becomes a doorway to self-knowledge. You realize that the wrong person is not just a mistake, they are a message. And if you listen, the message is clear. Integrate what you are projecting, and you will no longer need the mirror. Still, integration is not easy. It requires radical honesty. It requires you to admit your hidden desires, your forbidden longings, your unhealed wounds. It requires you to stop blaming others and to begin owning your patterns. To say, "Yes, I chose them. Yes, I was drawn to them. Yes, they hurt me, but they hurt me in ways that touched wounds I already carried." This honesty is not about self-blame, it is about self-ownership. Because until you own your patterns, you cannot change them. Jung's work invites us to approach love differently. Instead of chasing completion in another, he asks us to complete ourselves first, to face our shadow, to integrate our anima or animus, to become whole. Only then can we love truly, not from need, not from projection, not from desperation, but from wholeness. And when you love from wholeness, you no longer attract the wrong people, because you are no longer looking for someone to carry what you refuse to carry. You are no longer handing your shadow to another, asking them to live it for you. This is why self-awareness is the foundation of love. Without it, attraction is unconscious, driven by wounds and projections. With it, attraction becomes conscious, driven by choice and clarity. You begin to see people as they are, not as mirrors of what you lack. You begin to choose relationships that nurture growth, not repeat trauma. You begin to recognize love not as obsession, not as dependency, but as the meeting of two whole beings walking together. But to reach this, you must first descend. You must first look at the patterns honestly, the repetition, the pain, the wrong people. And instead of asking why life is unfair, you must ask what life is teaching me. Because in truth, life is always teaching. Every relationship is a classroom. Every heartbreak is a lesson. Every attraction is an exam. And the subject is always the same, the parts of yourself you have not yet integrated. The question that echoes through your life, "Why do I always attract the wrong people?" is not a curse from destiny, but a signal from your unconscious. Carl Jung insisted that our encounters with others are rarely accidental. Attraction is not randomness, it is resonance. Something in you calls to something in them, and often, that something is hidden, buried deep in your shadow. You are drawn not only to who they are, but to the unresolved pieces of yourself that they awaken. Think of how a magnet works. It pulls not because of conscious choice, but because of invisible forces. Attraction between people functions the same way. You may swear that you will never repeat the same mistake, but then you meet someone and feel that undeniable pull, the eyes, the energy, the mystery. It feels like destiny, but it is often the unconscious repeating a pattern. The psyche does not care about your comfort, it cares about your growth. And growth often comes through pain, through repetition, through lessons you refuse to learn any other way. This is why the wrong people are so compelling. You know deep down that they will hurt you, but the attraction is irresistible. It is not your logical mind that chooses, it is the unfinished business of your soul. The wound seeks repetition in order to be healed. But if you live unconsciously, you mistake repetition for fate and call yourself unlucky. In truth, life is not punishing you. It is inviting you to wake up. Let us return to childhood, because that is where the blueprint is written. If love was conditional in your home, you may unconsciously seek partners who withhold affection until you prove yourself. If safety was inconsistent, you may be drawn to people who create chaos, because chaos feels like home. If you were ignored, you may chase people who are emotionally unavailable, hoping that this time you will finally be seen. The psyche repeats because it is trying to rewrite the story. But until you see the pattern, you are trapped in its cycle. Jung explained this repetition through the concept of complexes. A complex is an emotional knot formed early in life, an unresolved wound that colors your perceptions and choices. When triggered, a complex can take control of you. You are no longer acting freely, you are acting out of the wound. This is why you can feel like two people at once, the one who knows better and the one who cannot resist. The complex belongs to the shadow, and it uses attraction as its stage. The wrong people are actors in the play written by your unconscious. And what about the feeling of obsession, that intoxicating pull that blinds logic? Jung would say that this is projection at its peak. You are not only seeing the other person, you are seeing your anima, your animus, your shadow, your lost self reflected back at you. The intensity is not about them, it is about you. You are intoxicated by your own reflection, magnified in their presence. This is why, when the projection collapses, the relationship often shatters. The person cannot carry the weight of your unconscious forever. Sooner or later, the mirror breaks, and you are left with shards of your own image. This is the painful truth. The wrong people are not entirely wrong. They are necessary. They expose your wounds, they reveal your patterns, they carry your denied parts. They are guides disguised as heartbreakers. Without them, you would never see what is hidden. Without them, you would never be forced to confront the basement of your soul. This does not mean you should stay in destructive relationships. It means you should not leave them without taking the lesson with you. To walk away without reflection is to guarantee repetition. To walk away with awareness is to break the cycle. Jung also emphasized the idea of the inner marriage, the union of the conscious self with the unconscious, the integration of anima and animus, of shadow and light. When this inner union happens, your relationships change. You no longer need someone else to complete you because you are complete. You no longer need someone to carry your shadow because you have owned it. You no longer confuse obsession with love because you can see clearly. The people you attract shift because the resonance inside you has shifted. What once called to your wounds now calls to your wholeness. But before this transformation, there is a descent. You must be willing to look at the traits that your wrong people embody and ask, where is this in me? If you keep attracting selfish partners, perhaps you are denying your own need to set boundaries. If you keep attracting controlling people, perhaps you are repressing your own power and handing it to others. If you keep attracting emotionally unavailable people, perhaps you are avoiding your own vulnerability. The pattern is not random, it is a message. The person in front of you is a mirror, and the reflection will not vanish until you acknowledge it. Let us make this more concrete. Imagine a woman who constantly falls for men who are distant and cold. She believes she is simply unlucky, but in truth, she is terrified of intimacy herself. By choosing unavailable partners, she avoids facing her own fear of being truly seen. The attraction is not about them, it is about her shadow. Until she faces her fear, the pattern will repeat. Or consider a man who always falls for partners who belittle him. He thinks he is cursed, but in truth he carries deep self-hatred. By attracting those who mirror that hatred, his unconscious forces him to confront it. The lesson is not in them, it is in him. Jung would say that to break the cycle, you must withdraw your projections. You must reclaim what you have placed in the other. This is painful because it means admitting, the person I thought was my soulmate was actually my shadow. The traits I thought belonged to them were parts of me I had not yet integrated. It is humbling. It is sobering. But it is also liberating. Because once you take back your projections, you free the other person and you free yourself. You no longer need the wrong people to show you who you are. You begin to choose consciously, not compulsively. Still, do not mistake this for perfection. Even with awareness, the shadow never disappears. New layers emerge, new wounds reveal themselves, new lessons arise. But each time you choose awareness over projection, you grow stronger. Each time you ask, what is this showing me about myself? Instead of, why are they like this? You step closer to wholeness. The cycle may not vanish overnight, but it weakens. The magnet loses its pull. You begin to attract differently because you are different. And this leads to a crucial insight. The people you call wrong may have been the most important teachers of your life. They forced you to face the patterns you would never face alone. They dragged your shadow into the light, even if it broke your heart in the process. Without them, you would still be asleep. With them, you were given the chance to awaken. The tragedy is not that you attracted them. The tragedy is when you refuse to learn from them. So, the next time you ask, why do I always attract the wrong people? Pause before blaming fate. Instead ask, what part of me called them here? What wound were they sent to reveal? What projection am I ready to reclaim? Because the answer is never out there. It is always in here. And once you realize this, the wrong people lose their power. They no longer control your story. They become footnotes in your journey toward wholeness. The greatest illusion is believing that love is simply something that happens to us, a stroke of luck or misfortune, when in reality, it is the deepest mirror of our unconscious. Every person you have ever loved, hated, or desired has revealed something about yourself that you could not see alone. To Jung, this was not punishment. It was the psyche's attempt to bring you toward wholeness. And so, if you always attract the wrong people, it is because your soul is still trying to show you the unfinished chapters of your story. Think about it. If attraction were only about logic, you would never choose someone who hurts you. But love is rarely logical. It is magnetic. You feel the pull before you can explain it, before you can reason with it. And that pull, more often than not, is your shadow calling. It is the abandoned child within you seeking comfort in the same familiar wounds. It is the forgotten desire demanding to be lived. It is the unhealed trauma searching for resolution. The wrong person, then, is not random, they are the echo of your soul. But here lies the paradox. The wrong person can only teach you if you are willing to listen. If you run from them without reflection, the lesson remains unfinished, and the cycle continues. If you demonize them entirely, you miss the piece of yourself they carried. If you cling to them in obsession, you mistake the lesson for destiny. True liberation comes when you extract the wisdom and then release the mirror. You thank the lesson, even if it broke you, and you move forward more whole than before. Many people resist this work because it feels unfair. Why should I take responsibility for their cruelty? Why should I see my wound in their betrayal? But Jung never suggested excusing abuse or justifying harm. He suggested that while others are responsible for their actions, you are responsible for your patterns. You may not have chosen their behavior, but you did choose, unconsciously, to invite that reflection. Owning this truth does not mean blaming yourself. It means empowering yourself. Because once you see the pattern, you can choose differently. You are no longer a victim of fate. You are an author of your future. Integration begins with honesty. Ask yourself, what keeps repeating? What faces return with different names? What traits captivate me and then destroy me? These questions open the door. Write them down. Speak them out loud. Dare to name the cycles. Every time you name them, you weaken their hold. The unconscious thrives in silence. It loses power when exposed to light. The next step is reclaiming projections. Notice the qualities you glorify in others. Do you worship their confidence? Perhaps you are denying your own. Do you envy their freedom? Perhaps you are repressing your own desires. Do you feel inferior next to their intelligence? Perhaps you are belittling your own voice. Projection is not only about what you hate, it is also about what you adore. Both admiration and resentment reveal disowned parts of yourself. To reclaim them is to become whole. And what about love, then? What is love once the projections fade? Jung would say it is the meeting of two whole beings, not two halves searching for completion. It is not obsession, not dependency, not desperation. It is recognition. It is choice. It is the decision to walk beside someone, not because they carry your shadow, but because you both have faced your shadows and can stand in truth together. This is rare, but it is real. It is the love that endures beyond projection, beyond fantasy, beyond need. To reach this, you must marry yourself first. You must unite your conscious with your unconscious, your light with your shadow, your masculine with your feminine. This inner marriage frees you from the compulsion to seek completion outside. It allows you to enter relationships not as a beggar seeking wholeness, but as a sovereign offering wholeness. And when two sovereign souls meet, the love that arises is not bondage, it is freedom. The wrong people then were never mistakes. They were steps. They were necessary chapters in the book of your becoming. Without them, you would still be blind to your patterns. Without them, you would still be asleep in the comfort of denial. They broke you, yes, but they also opened your eyes. And perhaps that is their true gift. So the question is no longer, why do I always attract the wrong people? The real question is, what part of myself have I been refusing to meet? Because once you meet yourself fully, you no longer need the wrong mirrors. The unconscious no longer drags you into repetition. You begin to attract differently because you are different. You begin to love differently because you are whole. Carl Jung wrote, "We meet ourselves time and again in 1,000 disguises on the path of life." The wrong people were disguises. They were you wearing other faces, knocking at your door, saying, "Look here, feel here, integrate here." And if you dare to listen, you will no longer curse your past, you will bless it. Because every heartbreak, every disappointment, every betrayal was the shadow guiding you back to yourself. And so, the answer is clear. You always attract the wrong people until you become the right person for yourself. When you face your shadow, when you integrate your wounds, when you reclaim your projections, you break the cycle. You stop searching for completion outside and find it within. And then love transforms. Attraction is no longer compulsion, it is choice. Connection is no longer bondage, it is freedom. The people you meet are no longer mirrors of your wounds, but companions of your wholeness. The wrong people lose their power. The cycle ends. And in their place, a new kind of love emerges. One that does not blind you, but awakens you. One that does not break you, but builds you. One that does not control you, but walks beside you. This is love after the shadow. This is love after wholeness. So the next time you look back at the faces of those you once called mistakes, remember, they were not mistakes. They were mirrors. And you, at last, have learned to see.